Hey everyone, welcome to Coach on Command. My name is Arron Littleton, and I am the head coach of the Gymnastics Sports Center Storm, two-time AGA champion, and your host for this hour of excitement and wonder. So, number one, off the top here, you will notice that things are much less heart-throbby here tonight. First off, we are very sorry, ladies. I know that's why you tune in is to see Kaegan. He is not here tonight, but we do have a very adequate replacement for him. We have Jess is here again, and so we'll kick it over to her and let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Coach Jessica, and unlike our other coach Kaegan, I have showered today.
I'm Coach Tracy, and my first name is Coach.
You know, on something that's completely on something that's completely not related to what we're going to talk about at all. I have always said that coaches, we should go like popes, where they choose a different name, and it's like, so your coach name, like my name would be Coach Pablo Aloysius or whatever. I think that's what we should do. We should just forget our regular name so nobody knows who we are. All right, so tonight. Tonight, after that, we are going to we're going to get really metaphysical on the podcast this evening. And I think we're going to be right up Tracy's alley. He is very metaphysical all the time. And so, you know, the longer you coach, the more you kind of realize certain truths about yourself, certain truths about your students, other coaches, the sport that you're working, and life itself. So, you know, after ruminating on those observations for a while, you kind of stack them together. And once stacked, they become the foundation of your coaching philosophy. And they become the lens through which you see the world. And they guide your thoughts and behaviors as you go about your everyday coaching life. And so tonight we are going to talk about coaching philosophy, and I think that it's very important that you develop one. And so we're here to help you out tonight. And so the first question I have is, if you had to pinpoint a few pillars, just a few of your coaching philosophy, obviously, you know, it could get really grand if you had to write it all down, but just a couple. Pinpoint a few pillars of your coaching philosophy. What are they, Jess?
I picked my top 3, and I feel the top one when working with any kids is patience. Patience is very important no matter what age of child, but kind of remembering to put yourself in their shoes, seeing it through their eyes, and working them through whatever they may be struggling with, which kind of goes into my second point of being relatable. Once again, putting yourself in their shoes and trying to understand how you can best help them based on what they're maybe struggling with, and show them that they're not alone, and maybe even tell them, you know, what you've struggled with and what has been hard for you and how you were able to overcome it. Maybe you struggled with the same thing that this child may have at one point. And that kind of ties in with my third point of understanding. And being understanding is really helpful for kids when they're really struggling and they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And you tell them, it's okay, we'll work through it, we'll get there, and hey, you may not have accomplished the task I asked of you tonight, but we made progress, and that's the big important part, is just seeing that progress.
I would have to say first, mine is safety first. I didn't have a gym whenever I was growing up and first learning parkour. I remember the times when I landed poorly on the ground and was gasping for air, had the air knocked out of me. I remember one time I fell at this little courthouse in this tiny town that I lived in, and I literally crawled across the street because I couldn't get up, and knocked on one of the shops because my friend's grandma worked there, and she called my mom to come pick me up because I was in a bad way. I just couldn't catch my breath. I was all by myself, so I was a little scared. I wouldn't want a kid to go through that, so we try here to make sure that the kids are safe when they're doing their stunts. Second of all, I would say you've kind of got to understand what everyone wants. We kind of talked about this a little bit last week, but I feel like it's really important. It's hard to motivate a child to perform if you're, one, using the wrong motivation, but two, if you just don't understand what it is that they're trying to accomplish. But if you can have a psych analysis of them and know how to understand what they want, you guys can work to build your program into a way that will achieve what everyone wants.
I completely agree with that. It's funny when you were talking about landing really bad on the ground. I just saw the Grand Theft Auto thing, Wasted. It's just Tracy hits the ground. It's like fade to black. Well, I'm happy. I'm happy that you got home safely after all of that. But yeah, that's crazy. That sounds like a good reason not to flip to me. But maybe that's
Flip
just
over
me.
pads.
Yeah, there you go. Get yourself a mat or something, or at least a nice little haystack. Shout out to Assassin's Creed. So number one, I think when I mull over what are the main kind of pillars of my coaching philosophy, number one is try to do the most good that you can in the world. And so, this can seem kind of trivial. Obviously, we're just teaching rolls or flips or whatever. It's not necessarily life and death, although it can get that way pretty quickly. But I want to help my students. I want to help my coaches. I want to help, whoever I can help, in a small way. And I think that sports are so important in life because they are kind of a metaphor for life. And you got to learn how to fail and pick yourself back up when you do that. And, you understand that success is a process, all of those things I think that are important to learn in sports. And so while I'm in the gym, I'm really just trying to do the most good that I can to bring a little bit more perspective, maybe help the kids out, push them in the right direction. So that's number one. Number two is try to get 1% better every day. Now, I understand, okay, math majors, do not at me. I know that you cannot physically, if you coach for 12 years, you cannot physically, I'm not like 600% better. I may be pretty close to that. Then when I first started, I was pretty bad when I first started, so maybe 600% is where we're at. And also, that's probably not the math on that, but whatever. Like I said, if math majors, just don't. But yeah, and so it's kind of shorthand for trying to be a little bit better every day. And so, I love being in the gym and I love being in my gym, but I also love being in other people's gyms. I've got a lot of friends who are in the DFW area, in the Metroplex, and occasionally whenever I'm going to be down there, I'm like, hey, let me come work out with you. Let me work out with your kids. Let me, maybe I can teach them something. Maybe you can teach me something. And so that is super good to have, kind of the iron sharpens iron type of thing going on. And, so whatever I'm doing, I'm trying to get better at this all the time. And number three is that the details matter. In this sport especially. I just had a conversation with a judge this last weekend. We had a meet down in Cleburne, and I'm like, okay, I know the skill that my girl is doing, not where I would want it to be. I know it's not great, but and she's kind of had a ongoing battle with this skill, and sometimes we don't want to do it the way I want it done. And so I'm like, can you just tell me what the deductions are? Can you tell me, like, just tell me? And I was like, I'm completely good with it. I'm not here to argue with you. I just want to know so I can tell her, we need to fix this. Okay. And she goes, yeah, this is what I'm taking. And so it turns out that, and this is really important for people who are going to aspire to be gymnasts, is that the details matter, because my girl in this one skill was losing 5/10 on what is like a 1/10 skill. And I'm just like, that is a detail that matters. And people look at it and it's like, oh, well, why did they get this score? Why is this? Why is that? And especially in gymnastics, especially if you're going to aspire to be competition level, everything matters. Every little bend is a 1/10 or 2/10 or 3/10. Every time something is imperfect, and you can really have, kind of death of 1,000 paper cuts if you're not paying attention to the details. And so you may be like, that was a solid routine. I bet you that gets whatever, an 8 or 9, and they're like, no, that was a 6. And you're just like, what is even happening? But yeah, details matter. And the last one is, I kind of touched on it just a second ago, is never stop learning. Like, I am not the Graham the grand inquisitor of gymnastics. Like, I did not invent it. I am not, and so even though I've been moderately successful as a coach and, our program is doing pretty good now, I do not hold myself to be the authority on gymnastics, and so I can always get better. We can all get better, and I think that's part of what we're doing here with this podcast, is trying to help everybody get a little bit better just from learning from us, and we would love to learn from them as well, But we've got the microphone for right now.
Well, I'm just saying, sometimes exploring these questions can make you stop and really think about it and evolve from there.
Oh no, absolutely. I think being on this podcast is really kind of made me think about a lot of things that I really haven't thought about before. Normally I'm just in the gym and I'm in my own head and I'm like, this is what I'm doing and this is, but when when you've got to dissect it in a way that might make sense to somebody else, it's really kind of good to kind of test yourself in that way. So once you've adopted a tenet of your coaching philosophy, you'll find yourself saying it over and over. That's just kind of how it is. You'll make an observation and like, I kind of like that. I kind of like, the way that sounds, the way it rolls off the tongue, whatever it is that you like about it, or that it's true. And, so you say it over and over again. And so, what do you think is the most vocalized philosophical notion in your coaching toolbox, Jessica?
I've been at this coaching game the least out of all of my fellow coaches. And so I am still learning as well, but one that I found that I used myself and then found myself sharing a lot was just the concept of telling them sometimes pause before you do it, really think it out. Where do you want your body to be? Visualize it first, and then, have a plan so that you're not having to stress during the trick or flip or whatever you're trying to coach them at. Tell them, all right, this is what I want my body to do. Telling yourself, almost like convincing yourself that you can do it. Get out of your own head by saying, all right, I'm about to do this. And then you just do it. So sometimes just telling them, think it out, visualize it, breathe, now go. You've got this.
I'd have to agree with that. One thing that can kind of echo off what she says is I'll tell kids, stop jumping, prepare yourself for the trick that you're about to do, and then do it. Because some kids will sit on the trampoline, they're about to throw a back tuck, not spotted, and they're psyching themselves up, but they'll sit there and bounce for 10 minutes before they ever even try, and then they're worn out before they've even tried it. So I tell them, stop bouncing. Nope, steel yourself, prepare, then do it. Don't bounce for 20 minutes and make yourself worn out,
Sometimes I think that's on purpose. They're like, well, if I just wear myself out,
I could just bounce a whole bunch. Yeah, all right. Well, so another thing I tell my kids, and I find myself pointing this out to them a lot of kids jump very poorly, and I tell them, look, your arms are half of your jump, okay? Now, math majors, don't come at me. I know 50%. But it's amazing to me how many kids will try to throw a front flip, but they don't use their arms to get their jump. They'll just throw their arms either straight down or just, you might as well tie their arms behind their back because they're not using them. And they're crushing their own jump. They're just not getting off the platform. I tell them, if you're going to jump up, why are you throwing your arms down? That does not make sense. Your arms have to jump. Make sure that you're utilizing them as part of the jump. The tuck comes after the jump. It's not all in one motion, Another thing I tell them, do it again. Fix this. Now do it again. Do it again. One more time. Do it again. A bunch, all the time, because we train with pads, and pads can lead to some tricks getting sloppy. So we got to do it again. We got to correct the minor mistakes that are happening. Part of it's from laziness. Part of it could just be because they're still learning, But keep doing it. Keep doing it. We got a repetition until we get it right. Another thing, and obviously, depending on the kid, maybe you word it a little bit differently, but stop being a weenie. Just stop. You're capable. You're psyching yourself out. You've got everything you need to be able to do this. The only thing stopping you is yourself in your own head. You are your own worst enemy whenever it comes to you attempting this trick. So stop being a weenie. Do it.
I think that's great. I like it. We're definitely gonna clip that. Don't be a weenie part. Yeah, people need to play that on a loop. So it's interesting you were talking about the repetition thing, and I hadn't considered before, but something that I tell them a lot is if it ever comes down to the opportunity that or the chance that you have an opportunity to do one more rep or one less rep, always do one more. And so even now, I mean, don't hear me say it. Oh, my coach said I gotta go here. Let's create it. Like, don't hear me say it in that. But if you're like, I'm kind of tired or whatever, it's like, do one more rep if you have the chance, because that's going to get you one more rep closer to where you want to go. And it may not seem like a lot, but you kind of just put that in the bank for the next time, and you're a little bit better the next time. And and so that's what I'd say in response to what, or in correlation, I guess, was what you said just then. The thing that I would say for myself is I used to think that the number one thing that I would say for the rest of my life was one at a time on the trampoline, because working oh my goodness, working birthday parties, and if you have kids who particularly like to push your buttons, you'll tell them, hey, one at a time on the trampoline. They're like, okay, and then you'll like turn your back and like 8 kids will be on the trampoline. I'm like, bro, we're about to need like an ambulance. We're about to need an ambulance. Everybody's gonna smash their heads together. But yeah, and so I thought that was gonna be it. But as it turns out, I think the thing that I say most of all is they tell me one of two things. They're either like, I'm scared, or this is hard. And so for me, my response to that is good. If you're scared, be scared. You won't hear me telling you not to be scared. This is the most ridiculous sport on earth. Mm-hmm. And I don't know who thought this was a good idea, but I guess at this point we're just playing along. And, so it's like, be scared. I'm not telling you not to be scared, but, and here's the important part, do it anyway. And so if you feel like you were completely ill prepared to do this, then, and you've talked about spotting before, and, be there, safety spot, whatever. It's like, if you feel like you need that, that's fine, but make some progress, and everything in here is scary. Have you seen Olympians? Have you seen them doing fulls on the beam and stuff like that? It's like, it's crazy, and this sport only gets, as you get better, things get more crazy. That's how it works. It is in one linear direction to the crazy, and so you really got to kind of be prepared for that. And so yeah, if it's hard, great. It is making you better, and that is what you want. And that's not always a great process to lean into. You're like, I'm sick of being better. I've had enough of being better. But, so that's what I would say. If you're scared, great. Be scared. Lean into it. Listen to your coaches. They know how to get you to do this safely. And really lean into the process of being scared, but being brave enough in that fear to to at least attempt it, to at least get a little bit down the road. And if it's hard, great, because it's going to make you better. So last question tonight is, so obviously, you learn more, you do more, the more you're here, you kind of figure things out and you start to tweak stuff. And so how do you feel that your coaching philosophy has changed over the time that you've been coaching, and how do you feel that that's affected your coaching career?
As mentioned before, I'm still one of the newest coaches here, so a lot of this is been a learning process for me. It's been new for me, but I've been here for 2 years, almost 2 years now. And so one of the main things that has changed, I guess, in my philosophy was my confidence. Because for the first probably good year, I was learning right along with the kids, pretty much asking the coaches, what am I teaching them? How do I tell them to make this better? Can you come tell me how to tell them to make this better? And once I started being able to see for myself a few more things that the coaches saw immediately, I was slowly catching on and building up my confidence to where I could look at the kids and say, hey, you need to work on this. Hey, maybe, tweak this a little bit more. I'm definitely still asking those questions and saying, hey, can you come look at this kid and tell me what I need to tell them? That may never go away. But the confidence in myself and in my ability to be the person that these kids need to help them improve on what they're doing has definitely changed for me in the past 2 years that I've been here.
I'd have to say that one thing that's really evolved for me as I got, I guess, more into coaching is I've developed a better understanding of what the kids want. You know, whenever I first started, I told the kids, look, we need to do this. We need to work on this. This is what we want. I didn't really understand that I need to work in what they want to get better results. And as I became a better coach, I realized, you know, if we work in what they want, we become more of a team and we work towards the same goals. My goal can be their goal. We just got to figure out how to make those two in the same, you know, one and the same goal. Also, a large importance on repetition. I talked about it. One of the things I said, do it again. Do it again. You know, we have to do repetition. I've told my kids this. I said, we're in here. We're on, you know, a nice padded landing zone. It's fine if you mess it up here, but we have to learn to get it right in here so that way if you're out on concrete and you try to safety roll, you don't get it wrong out there, because that's the last place you want to, you know, accidentally land on your shoulder or hit your head or something like that. Anyways, large importance on repetition. It's gotten more and more important to me as I've been coaching more and more. And I emphasize this in the answer to my first question and also a little bit in the second question. Safety first, 100%. But at some point, you need to learn that kids are ready for those pads to be removed. And sometimes you just really got to kind of pull the pads away and say, look, you've got to learn to do this right. And I'd rather you do it in here on a spring floor versus outside on concrete. And while we're pulling the pads away, this floor is a lot more forgiving than a wood slab or a concrete or whatever the case may be. But that it kind of forces them to make sure that they're doing the tricks right. Because if they're trying to land and safety roll and there's no pad there, this floor is much more likely to tell them that's not correct versus a pad. So yes, safety is important, but at some point we got to start taking the training wheels off.
You know, and I think that's not what I had, but as you're talking, you know, and that's part of the best part about this podcast is you get to share stuff with me and I share it with you and we share it all with them and, you know, whoever may be watching this, thank you. We appreciate it. But shout out to you. But, yeah, the thing is, it's like, I think really now that I think about it and hear your answer, I think that one of the main things that have, and so what I said was, the core tenets of my belief are really the same. They're just more kind of refined into what I want. And I think the main word, and I've got a few coaches on my staff that are going to groan and fall over in the floor when they hear me say this, but is discernment. You know, and the ability to be able to tell what is right and wrong, what is appropriate or inappropriate in the moment. And, you know, I think that's kind of what you were talking about there as far as, you know, at some point you got to move the mats out of the way. At some point, you know, and I say this a lot in a very kind of joking but in a realistic kind of way. At some point you got to kick them out of the nest and just see if they're, you know, just see if they're going to be able to fly. And now, you know, obviously there's some safe ways that you can do that and or safer ways. You know, they'll be like, okay, ready to try this double full, all right, here we go, and okay, hospital. Anyway, no. And so yeah, I think that part is super important. You know, learning, yeah, and not all the kids are the same, and so there's a different way. I had the conversation several episodes ago about the girl that I ninja'd into doing the round off on the beam. And some kids you can do that with. Some kids you have to, you know, there's a whole menagerie of ways that you can get kids, and you've got to kind of know which buttons to push and what's going to work. And so I think that's a very interesting conversation to be had. The other thing I'll say is, as far as how do I feel like this has affected my career? I mean, I feel like it has made me a much better coach. The things that I said in the first, in the first answer, you know, try to be 1% better, details matter, all of that kind of stuff have kind of pushed me forward and kind of pushed me into really caring about the sport and caring about the kids that do it, and and trying to fix this and that and the other. And so the girl who got 5/10 off on her clear hip will not get 5/10 off on her clear hip in our next meet. It's not going to happen. I've already begun fixing it. We had a workout earlier. It's not there yet, but I'm going to get there. I still got a few weeks. And and so all of that, you've got to kind of have a certain amount of discernment with what you're trying to do, and you've got to you've got to understand how fine the line is between where you want to be and where you definitely do not want to be. And so that in helping me always stay motivated to try to be better has really kind of pushed my career forward. And who knows, if I didn't have that, I might be working at McDonald's right now with Jeff the random bro.
Jeff the random blow flipping burgers and not the kids.
I know, right? I would have been there. I guess if he's flipping the burgers, I would have been on the fries. It would have been getting it in over there. Somebody's got to make the apple pie. I don't know how they do that, but maybe they've got a grandma back there with like a apron on that makes.
They're probably all frozen.
They're definitely all frozen.
Listen, don't ruin my fantasy world where there's a grandma who cooks all the apple pies. So randomly strong opinion. That's the last part of this show. And so we had so much fun ranking the Pokemon last week that we decided that we were going to now do our top 5 favorite candies. And maybe we'll at some point we'll ask Kaegan what his top 5 favorite candies are, so we can tell him he's wrong about that.
Yeah, we got to tell him he's wrong.
That's the favorite part of the show. That's everybody's favorite part of the show. And but for right now, you got us. So top 5 favorite candies. And again, it's a very loose interpretation of what a candy bar or candies are. It's like you go into the convenience store, and there is a wall or sometimes several walls of confectionery items that you might like to enjoy. And so what are your favorite ones? All right, Jess, go ahead.
I am one of those people who likes almost anything chocolate. So I had to really think, if there was a bowl in front of me, what would I reach for first? So I would think I would start with number 1 as Reese's, but that does not mean the little mini cups. Little with the foil wrappers. No, I'm not reaching for that. I will, but to put in the trash can.
She wants the monster one.
It's either the actual like Reese's cup or maybe Reese's Pieces, but not the minis. I don't care if it's made in the same factory. They taste different. Number 2 would be Butterfingers. That was a big favorite when I was a little kid. And Twix. I became a big fan of caramel around that age, which would go into my next one, Milky Way. Caramel. And Kit Kats are fun, but I like most everything chocolate. So.
Number 1, probably a Mr. Good bar. I can love me a Mr. Good bar.
You're starting with number 1?
Yeah, number 1. Well, okay. When I say number 1, these are my top 5, but I guess I wouldn't necessarily say that the Mr. Good bar is number 1 in no particular order. I'm not massive on sweets. Honestly, my sugar intake has gone up dramatically since I got married because my wife likes sugar. So, I'm not much of a sweets guy. But anyways, if there's a Mr. Good bar there, probably gonna take it. Really big fan of Butterfingers, as Jess said. I do love a Reese's cup, but I have to agree, not the minis. They're not the same. Okay, they might be the same to some people, but those people are wrong.
It's not Coach on Command if Tracy didn't tell somebody they were wrong. And Cake is not here, so you Reese's people.
Candy lovers, you're wrong.
That's the one I'm compatible with.
Almond Joys. I love me some coconut. Love some coconut. So Almond Joys.
I don't actually like Almond Joys.
The best part about Almond Joys is that she won't steal them. Nice.
You don't have to hide them.
I don't have to hide them. Okay. And on occasion, a Jawbreaker. Just a nice piece of hard candy. Oh, so good. Love it.
Solid.
I get to take his Milky Ways.
That would be the perfect thing, right? If you were married to somebody who liked all the candy you didn't like, it's like perfect split. Me, I'm not married, so I eat all the candy, as you can tell. So, the thing about ranking candies is you realize once you first start to try to rank the candy that you don't remember all the candies. And so I guess I'm going to start with number 5, and we'll get a big drum roll at the end. But number 5 is Spree's the original. Like, I'm not a chewy guy. Like, I don't like chewy cookies.
I prefer the chewy Sprees.
Do you really? I mean, it is what if they're like the big ones, that's okay, or the big sweet tarts or whatever. But I don't know. There's something about having the hard candy like clack against your teeth. Like I like that. So I don't know. And you put it in your mouth and you savor it for a while, and then I don't know. Anyway, Spree's the original. Number 5. Number 4 is not just Nerds, but the Nerds rope.
I knew you were going to say that.
How did you know I was going to say that? Did you?
The moment you said Nerds, I thought he's going to say rope.
The Nerds rope is
the crazy thing I saw the other day, now I don't know if they still have the rope. I mean, that I feel like that's a little bit of an old school candy. But now they've got, instead of the rope, they've got like little
clusters.
Yeah, little clusters, and
clusters.
they put the Nerds on it. And I haven't tried that, but I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you. Maybe in a while we'll re-rank and we'll see if that's any better.
We'll have to bring up some samples.
I'm with it, man.
All in favor.
Yeah. So Nerds rope. Number 3 is M&M the original. I don't know. I like it, and so now they're kind of plasticky a little bit. When they were putting whatever it was in the original M&Ms, those were so good, man. And I could eat just like, I don't know, we'd have to get the shareable bag, and I was sharing them with me. That's what. Nobody better put their hands in my M&M bag. So yeah, M&M's the original. Then my favorite, what I would actually consider a candy bar, is the Crunch Bar. I like Hershey's as long as it has almonds in it. I like the almonds, but Crunch Bar, I don't know. There's just something about the like Rice Krispies or
kind of the textures you chew on it.
Yeah. I like it, and so me and a friend of mine, we had we went on this graphing trip for like 2.5 weeks, and we're like away and going to all these ball games and doing all this stuff. And in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, I don't know if y'all have ever been, they have a gas station, which it's not a big gas station, so it's not like Buc-ee's, but it is a very loaded gas station, and it's called Wawa. Have you ever heard of that? And so there are hardly any restaurants around, not like here where you can just go to Whataburger or wherever, and it's like they might have a McDonald's, like a McDonald's, and maybe in every so often you'll see a Burger King or something, but there's not the tremendous variety of Wichita Falls, Texas. And so I ate at this Wawa, like this gas station, for like 4 days in a row in Atlantic City. And so I would always get a certain sandwich. It would probably be like a cheesesteak or something, some watermelon, and a Crunch Bar, man. And it's just like and some chips, probably like Funyuns or something. And
Funyuns are bomb.
Yeah.
You can keep all the Funyuns.
And so yeah, that was like and that kind of reignited my love of the Crunch Bar was getting it at the Wawa in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And then number 1, if you haven't figured this out by now, you have not seen the podcast. Number 1 is Sour Skittles, but only the lime version. Only the lime version.
Green apple.
A throwback to the first podcast.
That is one of the most. I don't know if viral is the right word. That one has gotten a legitimate dozens of views. but yeah, it's all about the lime, man. If it's apple, it automatically goes to 3,000th favorite candy.
I tell you what, the Sour Skittles are really great for. If you're driving and you're tired, Sour Skittles are great. You tear the bag open just a little bit where it's absolutely frustrating to try to get in there to grab just one, and that's the trick to get you home.
I tell you what, Tracy would have a trick to frustrate himself.
I can't fall asleep if I'm irritated. I'm gonna get you, Skittle.
That is the line of the podcast. Mark my words. When the thumbnail comes out, it's gonna say, "I'm gonna get you, Skittle." Oh man,
It's an acro podcast, I swear.
So yeah, that's it. That was fun. I enjoyed doing that. If you're enjoying to know all the ways that Tracy frustrates himself in his everyday life, then please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. And Tracy, we have an email address. What is it?
If you got questions, just email us at askcoc@yahoo.com.
askcoc@yahoo.com. Fantastic. And so that'll do it for us. We thank you very much for hanging out. And please stay tuned for Rock, Paper, Scissors, the regional final.
Have a flippin' great day.
And don't forget to say that word.
And don't forget to set. Take care.